Let's grade Detroit's free agency signings thus far. Let's Talk Lions. Welcome back to an all-new episode here at Let's Talk Lions. My name is Jay. Thank you, all of you who are returning subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. For those of you who are brand new, thanks for hanging out. Talk a little bit Detroit Lions, specifically free agency. I'm looking at guys that the Lions have re-signed from the roster last year to guys that we were able to acquire who were not in Honolulu Blue last year. And I'm just going to give out some grades for these signings. So without any further ado, Abu the monkey, let's get into it. In case you missed it, yesterday I had a live stream with Dose of Dion. He came on, we broke it down, and it was about an hour long. So I'm going to take that 1 hour segment, and I'm just going to crush it into the size of a bowling ball, a seeing stone, one of the Palantiri.
Long have you hunted me. Long have I eluded you.
So let's kick this bad boy off with Tracy Walker. He was signed to a 3-year, $25 million deal. We saw the coaching staff really begin to tap into Walker's talent last year. He had a career high of 108 tackles. He had 1 interception, 1 sack, and really what we saw was him bounce back from the previous year under Matt Patricia. We see Aaron Glenn, Aubrey Pleasant really tap into his talents and him rise above, played to the caliber that we've always expected him to, that he can be. And so that development process really began, and I loved seeing that. I really wanted to bring him back and continue to develop him under Glenn this season. To me, he was a must re-sign. Here we are looking at guys and we're thinking, oh, Marcus Williams, and we're willing to pay 15, 17 million. Obviously not, because it didn't happen. But if that was a lot of the talk, why not take somebody that we have in-house and develop them for less than half that per season? To me, it felt like a no-brainer, re-signed. He proved himself more than capable last year with that bounce back. So I love this signing, giving this the grade of an A. Next up, we have Charles Harris. He was signed to a 2-year, $14 million deal. He had a career high of 7.5 sacks, and a lot like Tracy Walker, we saw the coaching staff tap into his potential. Here's Charles Harris, who has spent multiple years just not being able to get it done, to really prove himself. Now, some people might point and say, well, what about opportunity? And that's what's big, is last year, due to the amount of injuries that the Lions sustained, Charles Harris was put into a situation where it was, we're going to need you to step up. And he did exactly that. Now, the one thing that kind of kept me at bay with Charles Harris was, you've had 1 good season. Is it worth the money? So this is where the dollar bills are quite high. They were more than I wanted to give to Harris. However, it's only a 2-year contract. Making this deal, making this signing, this re-signing of Charles Harris, okay with me. I like Harris. He proved himself last season when he really needed to, if he wanted to be re-signed. And in that, I do think he deserves this. Last year, he had to prove himself. He did. We signed him for a minimal 2-year contract. Yeah, it's a lot of dollar bills, but let's just say things don't work out this year. You can move on from that. You're going to take a hit. However, the money, a little bit more than I wanted, but I like the amount of time allotted on the contract. Thus why I'm going to give the Charles Harris signing a B. Would have loved to see those dollar bills be a little bit less, but I get it. Next up, we have Kalif Raymond. He signed a 2-year, $9.5 million deal, and I love it because it is incentive-laden. I love incentives for players. I think it makes them dog it, it makes them earn it, makes them fight to reach their potential, to reach that cap. You give that to them on the one end, they're going to strive for the dollar bills, and in doing so, that's going to translate into better performance and better play for our team. So I like incentives. Make them try to hunt down them golden coins, those dragons from the city of Waterdeep. You gotta put it in front of them, make them work a little bit harder. Love the incentives. I believe it's about up to $4 million worth of incentives. So that's huge. As a player, last year, Kalif Raymond was nothing but a stud. From when I saw him in training camp to the very end of the season, I watched him and I was high on Kalif Raymond. He started more games last year than he had started in the 5 years prior in the NFL. Now, I know some people may look and they say, well, it's because Detroit's wide receiver room didn't have anybody, so you're just going to start him. Yes and no. Kalif Raymond proved himself to be more than capable and versatile. Versatility is everything. It's everything at this level. And when you can have a guy who can play the slot, who can play the outside, he was put into a lot of positions, punt returning, where Kalif Raymond showed his versatility and that he was capable in all of those slots. I love Kalif Raymond. He gets signed for a 2-year deal up to $9.5 million, and I believe he's worth it. He had a career high of punt returns last year for the Lions, and he averaged a high of 11.1 yards per return. My guy was laying blocks, making catches, proving himself to be worth every penny. He was incredibly valuable out on the field, but also in the locker room during this culture change. I love that we brought him back. I'm giving this an A for a grade. Absolutely an A. He deserves the extension. Super hyped about it. Next up, Tim Boyle. Timmy B, TB12. Tim Boyle has been re-signed for a 1-year, $2 million contract. Now, to be fair, when we originally signed Tim Boyle, I was pretty hyped. I saw a lot of the upsides, and maybe it's because I put some blinders on and wanted to believe, because you look at Tim Boyle's college performance, and it was pitiful. It was really, you just don't look at it. Just pretend it doesn't exist. It was not good. And then you look at his preseason 2019. That's what got me hyped. He had the best QBR out of any player, any quarterback in the NFL during that season. So there was a lot of hype there. He played under Aaron Rodgers, or learned, I should say, under Aaron Rodgers for a couple years. So I was excited. Tim Boyle's got a massive cannon for an arm. He can huck the ball. However, what was the number one thing we saw that was his problem last year? It was accuracy. He was all over the place. He was incredibly green last year, as he had never had an NFL start up to that point. You kind of watched him, incredibly inaccurate. The Atlanta game, almost had the W, even though his passing yards were awful that game, and he tried to force a ball where it shouldn't have gone, and you could just tell there's that greenness to him that game, to all the games that he played. So, if Tim Boyle can figure out and dial in on the accuracy issue, I really think he can become something. It's going to take more time. It's a 1-year deal, $2 million. Sure, I don't love handing out $2 million to your backup QB. However, it ain't Chase Daniel money, so I'll take it. Backup QB, we'll see what happens during the draft. Will the Detroit Lions make a move that we're all sort of a little antsy about? Who knows? Giving this re-signing a C-. It's just, it is what it is. You got a 70 on the test. It barely passes, but everybody knows he should have done a little better there. Now let's move on to some new fellas in Honolulu Blue. And let's kick it off with DJ Chark. 1 year, $10 million. Listen, we knew Randall L. wanted to snag a wide receiver in free agency, and we did. Chark is an interesting beast when you look at him. He was a Pro Bowler back in 2019. Obviously, last year, week 4, he has that ankle injury. He was a part of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a floundering organization. DJ Chark has a lot to prove. And I think that's what makes him such a viable option. What made him such a viable option for the Lions is a guy who's coming in saying, I want to prove it, not just to everybody else, but to myself, that I am capable, that I am great. And I love that attitude. And we know that's the attitude, the fire that this coaching staff loves. DJ Chark is a great wide receiver. He can take the top off the defense. He's incredibly fast, plays the outside. He will be a valuable asset to this wide receiver room and to Jared Goff. I love that it's a 1-year deal, and quite frankly, you had people calling for Allen Robinson, which would have costed another $5-6 million if you want to make that move according to the market value. So to pay $10 million to a young, fast, outside receiver, this is phenomenal. I love the DJ Chark move. Giving this signing a grade of an A. Solid 95. Flying colors, my friends. Next up is Mike Hughes. This is a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. Hughes actually was a first-round pick by Minnesota a couple years ago, but most recently he played with Kansas City. Interestingly enough, he had a great season. So bringing him in here on a 1-year deal, we can tell this is the Brad Holmes mentality in the first 2 seasons of a rebuild, of this rebuild. It's a lot of 1-year deals, and I love that. You're not shelling out huge deals to Trey Flowers or things like that where all of a sudden you're locked in on players. 1 year, $3.5 million, prove it. One of his biggest upsides to me is his versatility. I mean, you look at last year and the amount of injuries we suffered at the cornerback position. Having a guy like Hughes come in there who's versatile, can play multiple slots, he has experience. I love his versatility. I love what he brings in experience. In experience. Quite frankly, I think this is a great signing for this cornerback room. Looking at PFF, last year was his best season. He scored a 79 total overall grade. Against the run, it was about a 74. And against pass coverage, it was a 78. So when you look at him, you look at what he was able to do last year with KC. I mean, this is a great signing for Detroit in a cornerback room that, quite frankly, feels like we're going to need depth again. You can never go wrong having depth there. So I love bringing Hughes in. Look, big splash signings are a lot of fun. They are. But we're in year 2 of this rebuild, and we can't quite make those yet. That feels like it'll be coming next year or year 4. We got to build this the right way first. Let that cement dry first. I've only ever worked with cement once in my life, and it was terrible. We were filling up a man-made lake, and you had to hold this 120-foot anaconda filled with cement that's pouring out, just sitting there trying to wrangle that bad boy. It was not fun. I look back, and I'm like, good memories with the boys, but terrible experience. Overall, I give this a grade of a B+. Love that versatility. Lastly, Chris Board. Now, I have not seen the specific contract deals yet. It looks like it's a 1-year deal from what I can tell. I haven't seen the numbers on the dollar bill side. But this is a very interesting one to me because I don't think Baltimore wanted to lose him. I don't think Baltimore was looking to lose him because of how great he is in the special teams role. Just pretty sure from what it sounds like, Detroit offered something better and he took it. So that's huge, specifically because this one stings, but we had to fill the void, the vacancy left behind with Jalen Reeves-Maybin moving on. Quite frankly, it's a great signing for Detroit. Chris Board is one of the best special teams players in the NFL. Now, granted, as a linebacker, you didn't really get to see much out of him in Baltimore. That's not really where he excelled. However, he was used in specific situations. So how will he be used here in Detroit? Obviously, to fill that special teams role, just like Jalen Reeves-Maybin. But when you look at him, he's great against the run. He's great dropping back into pass coverage. Chris Board is a great signing by Detroit. Now, again, I don't know the money, so at the moment, I'm going to give this a B+, because I like it. We had to fill this role. We'll know a little bit more when the dollars come out. If it's less dollars for 1 year, could be an A-. I guess I'll just have to let you know. But that is it for today. Those are my free agency grades so far. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for subscribing. Quite frankly, about half of those of you that watch, I could tell you're not subscribed according to the analytics. Let me just encourage you, take a leap of faith. Hit that red button and believe that maybe, just maybe, you'll be thankful. So, just take a chance. Take a chance on me. I don't know. Listen, you can subscribe if you want. You don't have to subscribe. But is it nice? Is it helpful? Yeah.